Welcome back to the Bread to Build podcast, a project dedicated to sharing the stories of the people who build and those who help move construction forward. If you like what we're doing, all we ask is you support us on the journey, hit that little subscribe button, drop an awesome review. My name is Brek, founder of Hammr, Construction Payroll and HR platform. And today I'm joined by my co-host, Keith Callaway Jr.
What's up, guys? I'm Keith Jr. I'm CEO of K&L Industries, a paving company based out of Oregon, and I am super excited to be here with our guest, Benjamin Holmgren.
We were just riffing before this, and we got two big runners on the podcast today. So I'm excited to hear some learnings, lessons, kind of traits that you guys maybe have taken away and applied to business. So I'm really kind of excited to jump in. You, Benjamin, I know this was a long time coming, so I'm pumped to have you on the podcast today.
Likewise, I'm scared that a bunch of construction folks are going to be tuning in, and then Keith and I are going to spend the first 30 minutes talking about running, and folks will drop off. Yeah, forget these boys.
Yeah, I thought this was about construction. It is, eventually.
Yeah. We should change our podcast description. It is about construction eventually.
Yeah.
Benjamin, let's go way back. I followed you for God, I don't know how long, quite a while. I've kind of followed most of your journey, both on the personal and professional side, which I'm, just a big fan and advocate of you. But you kind of have shared maybe a moment where you kind of saw equipment as a kid and you knew something just kind of clicked. I really kind of want to go back to those roots of, everybody has some type of story of how they get into construction. I think you've had a really unique journey going through multiple phases of working on, and maybe we even working on the tech side of things. But I just want to know, what was that initial moment that has kind of shaped your entire path into the world of construction?
I'll tell you the exact moment, actually. I grew up very, very blue collar. It's all I ever knew. We lived on property. 10 years old, Dad bought me my first electric chainsaw, and out in the woods I went, and he came up for lunch, from his home office, came up for lunch, and I had half the woods cut down. I'm like, Dad, I'm going to sell firewood and get rich finally. And that's kind of how I came up. When I was 12, my brother, who's 2 years my senior, he was working with his farmer, and he got sick one day and couldn't go into work. And so the farmer was like, well, can you work? And I was like, absolutely, I can, sir. And so I go out to the farm, and it turns out he was going to have my brother, my 14-year-old brother, drive this old International flat-nose dump truck. And he was hauling stumps around from kind of out in the woods. He was hauling them out to a burn pile and dumping. And he was like, so you really think you can drive this, huh? And I'm like, I don't know what I just signed up for, but I'll give it my best shot. And so 12 years old, drove a flat-nose dump truck around for a couple days, and I was wishing my brother would stay sick longer because I could not get enough of it. And that was, from there, it's like every chance I got to be on a tractor or in an excavator or whatever, that was my jam. That's what I wanted to do. There was nothing better than getting to sit in a Bobcat or on a Kubota or something. It was the best. And I never really got over it. By the time I was 17, 18, I was in the seat of a Mini X, and I never got into the big stuff, none of the fun stuff. And it's probably my biggest regret, given the work that I do now. Like, these guys talk about running these massive machines and these haul trucks and stuff. And all my customers, that's what they do. And it's like, I can run a 4,000-pound Kubota Mini X like it's my job, because it was for years. Mm-hmm. So I have some respect, but I've always loved it. And now we're here.
I love that, dude. It kind of reminds me of my story when I was a kid. Your electric chainsaw incident, or kind of what you're mentioning. My grandfather showed me how to kind of sharpen my axe and everything, and I remember bringing that to my house, and I just started chopping down trees in the backyard. And I just vividly remember my mom's voice is still in my head. She's like, "Brek, go on, stop chopping down the trees." But man, that was a highlight of the childhood. Always hung out with grandpa and learned a tip or two, and then you go home and chop down the whole forest.
That'll happen.
One thing that seems like it's kind of shaped your kind of a lot of what you do lately is you shared something kind of heavy on social media last year. I think it was within the last year, about landing in the hospital. Imagine that was kind of a wake up call to you and kind of your priorities. And one thing that you kind of said that kind of, just really resonated with me. I think I remember something you shared on social media where you just talked about you were kind of chasing the next thing, the nice things, the big house, blah, blah, blah. And that has really just kind of shaped your perspective. But I'd love for you to kind of dive into that perspective shift, because I know that this was such a big life event to you and kind of your overall career and how you view things. So if you're open to it, I'd love for you to kind of lean into that a little bit and share that perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. For anybody listening who, you said you saw the post, but I'm sure most folks didn't. I have, for as long as I can remember, for 15 years, I've been active in my career, and every single day I wake up and I've tried to figure out how am I going to go get a little richer today. Like I want to get rich. I've never been rich. I didn't grow up with anything and so being able to have money and fly private and do all this stuff has just always been a priority. Like, this is what we're going to go and do. And, to some degree, like up until the last couple of years, even, I was still very, very motivated by, just getting and being rich. And 18 months ago, I woke up in St. George, Utah, where my wife and I were gone for our anniversary, and I'd had a stroke in the night. I couldn't stand up, couldn't see straight. And that recovery was pretty brutal. Fortunately, like, thanks to God, my brain didn't blow out. I was able to recover, but just completely random. There's no way I would have ever known it was going to happen. And from one day to the next, like, one day I was totally fine running ultra marathons and whatever. Next day, I couldn't hardly stand up, and spent the day in MRI machines and the whole thing. And then the other part of the story is 10 days after that, I was still struggling to string a handful of sentences together. And my wife ended up at 23 weeks pregnant, ended up in the hospital where baby's trying to come out at 23 weeks. So if you're not a parent, or you don't know about babies, they got to stay in for 40 weeks for them to be full term. And our baby was just over halfway done. And so, fortunately, again, baby stayed in for 3 weeks, and we got to the 26-week mark, and our seventh baby is born at 26 weeks, 1 pound, 13 ounces, just an absolute, just tiny. And that was 10 days after I had this whole stroke episode where my brain melted. The reason I'm giving you all this backstory is we spent the next 4 months in the hospital. And we got kids at home, and I'm trying to recover, and my wife is just had this baby, and baby's, doing well and then not doing well at all, and then up and down. And it's just like this total roller coaster. Mm-hmm. And we came out the other side of it, and it was never just 1 second, but, or 1 moment, but it was that just combination of all this stuff happening. It just made me realize so hard, the work, the earning, the creating value, however you want to put it. It doesn't matter even what business you're in. But let's say you're in the dirt business, or in the asphalt business, or you're in my business or your business, Brek. It's it doesn't matter what it is. You're providing value to other people. The work that we're doing, you guys, is for others. It's not for us. It's not so I can get my swanky private jet and take a picture and post it on Instagram. That's not the point of any of this. The point is to help other people and trust that you'll be taken care of along the way. We have been, and that's just totally changed my entire mindset. It's not like it's fixed everything. I still have to go figure out, okay, how do I go be valuable to other people? But it's just changed the entire way that I look at what the ambition is for. The ambition is for other people. It's for them.
That's what resonates so much. It's the give versus take mentality. And it just energizes you so much when you want to give value to people versus what can I get out of this interaction, and just treating everything like a transaction. The reason why I brought that up in the first place is not to get you on the podcast and share a sob story by any means. Really, it's kind of two things of, one, give value, but two, also, you've been a super resilient dude. because I've followed your journey, and I think that kind of speaks volumes to just how you've navigated your career and also what you're doing with ground crew and kind of the transition and periods. I think that's just a really good learning lesson, and you can probably maybe draw the parallels back to everything that both of you guys do with your ultra marathon. I still don't get how you guys do that shit, but Keith has invited me loosely to try it. I'm like, let me focus on these single digit miles first. But
it's not that hard.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
just
okay.
like if you can walk a mile, you can run a mile. If you can run a mile, you can run 100. Come on.
Yep.
Like it's just like you get snacks. It's like predetermined snack locations is really how I look at it, right?
You never said anything about the snacks until now.
Bro. The snacks. So like the snacks are I'll say like past the marathon where all these people are trying to accomplish again, goes back to what Ben was talking about. Like you have this race where people are trying to accomplish something that's really spectacular. If you get past like the pros and you get real people, like it's just a bunch of people like congregating and it's like a nonstop just chat and concession line. How you doing? Well, I'm not sure why I did this. I know me neither. But it's going to be great in like a day. Like it's going to be the best decision we ever made. But right now, probably top 5 worst choices I've ever made.
100%.
Yep. But hey, you've done like, well, first off, we skipped over a very important part of this story. You have 7 kids. I'm the oldest of 7 kids.
Are you?
So I am the oldest of 7. I've got 5 little brothers and a little sister. It like your hospital stuff. Like I went to the hospital the other day to visit some people in there, and we were talking about like those preconceived notions you have as a child. I assumed, and I looked at the hospital as a great thing because I always got a new sibling every time someone went there. I didn't know until I was like middle school that typically the hospital is not like a celebrated event or a place of joy. So like, but I picked up that it was something happy.
Yep.
Right. And so circumstances really do dictate our reality sometimes, especially if you don't have anything to like break a 9-year-old's thought process around what the hospital is.
Hospital.
So it's like
Six Flags. They're all,
yeah. Right. So like as you've gone through all these things in, landscaping, sold equipment, built lit, like you've been in the depths of many different careers, like, and being a dad and, having recovered from something that most people impacts their lives to the point of like changing it significantly. What tools, like, what are the things that you've drawn from to go through each of those challenges that's brought you out the other side?
You want just a really tactical or practical thing? You said
You can do this however you want.
Yeah. I am I don't know if this would be useful for anybody listening, but I'm a note-taking fiend. I have stacks of note-taking my notebooks on the bookshelf. I picked up this Remarkable or I got this Remarkable last year, filled the Remarkable with notes. I think writing is refined thinking. And so I'd spend a ton of time writing stuff down, words that nobody will ever read. I'll never read them again, but it's clarifying my own thoughts. So that's been like I said, if you want something practical, that's been a huge, huge help for me for 10 years. Like if I have a problem I'm struggling with, I just write until I get a action plan on the other side of it.
That's wild. Do you have ADD?
Never diagnosed, but more than likely.
So
I was gonna say lamp behind you.
yeah. I have 1,500 notes from this year, 2025. So I take all my notes in an app.
Yeah.
And I will dictate them. I'll scratch them. 1,500 notes in 2025 so far. And they are all like count. And the only reason that like I've learned that I need to write things down for them to even be real.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep.
Like if I don't write it down, chances are it doesn't hit my calendar, it's probably not real in my life. And that's if you pick up nothing else from what this guy said, like there's magic in the pen.
Mm-hmm.
There really is.
Yep.
That's amazing. So what's your time at Build Wit teach you? You got to experience, like Aaron going around and being around the world's biggest equipment, and you were over here with your 4,000-pound excavator experience. Like, what did that time there teach you?
Yeah. That taught me a ton about how finding out what is valuable to people is an effort. We worked at, and those guys are still working at, finding out what is valuable to people. Brek, I know we've had conversations about Hammr. You guys, the first day you thought of Hammr versus today, those look vastly different,
Absolutely.
And that that idea that it's like this continuous discovery, and then you feel like you get there, and then the market changes or COVID or something happens, and then the whole thing goes right out the window and you start over again. It's like that's one of the biggest things I took from that experience, in being involved in that experience, like, and being playing closely with a lot of those guys. It's like, to figure out how to be valuable to people is the whole thing, man. Like,
Mhm.
you do that, you got a business.
That's kind of transitioned you into kind of what you're doing today, which I would love to kind of dive into, which is ground crew. I would love to kind of, and by the way, just for clarification, is Kessa part of like the ground crew thing, or is that the overall kind of mission? I was wondering this a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, I'm not like a branding crow.
Me neither.
Yeah, Kesta is my company. That's like the parent company. Ground Crew is the subsidiary, or it's basically the product.
Yes.
You can join a Ground Crew peer group.
Mhm.
But real quick, the word Kesta, if
I was going to ask
look
this.
it up, yeah, if you look it up, the reason I call my company Kesta, there's two reasons. One, when you go actually look for a business name, and you try to like figure it out with the state and all this stuff, like every good business name is taken already. So you have to go like look in another language. I'm mostly Finnish, a little bit of Norwegian, so I go look in the Finnish language. The word Kesta is a Finnish word that translated means long term, or for the long haul. And my aim from the first day has been, how do I help my customers be around for the long haul? We're back to the value conversation. If I can do that, and that's a puzzle, that's not something that I have solved. I'm not telling you guys like, yo, I've got this all dialed in. I'm trying to figure out, how do I be around for the long haul? Kesta is like the ultimate core value for me. If I'm going to do something, I want it to last. If I'm going to provide value of some sort, I want it to be value that's worth something in the future. Like, I want this to have long-term effects. I had this, I was running the other day and had this podcast on, I forget who it was, doesn't matter, Chris Williamson or something. And he's talking about Bill Gates being this, not being the smartest bulb in the drawer necessarily, but the guy just would not quit. For 40, 50 years, he has not quit. And whatever you think of Bill Gates, it doesn't matter. Just the principle of the thing, I hope it ages well. I hope I don't just go belly up like in a month, and then people are like, dude, why did you say this? I want to be around for a long time. And I've just realized, like, even the whole experience I just shared with you guys, like, your life is incredibly long. I'm 30. You guys are young. Like, you think about some of these people who are 60, 70 years old. They've had 40 or 50 years to build skills, network, their reputation. It's like, if you have 40 or 50 years to do something, you can probably get it done.
Mm-hmm.
The issue is you try to do it in 6 months. And that's what I'm trying to like war against, is like my own impatience.
Yeah.
Compared to long term. So anyway, yeah,
That's still something that I struggle with today. It's like you, I don't know. You gotta have a balance. Like, obviously you're a resilient guy, and sometimes the impatience can get you to places fairly quickly, but it's like, how do you build something that's lasting? That's something that I commonly struggle with, is like, you want to build fast and get everything on the tracks, but you also want to build something that lasts. And constantly that balance, I think, is kind of a superpower. But I agree with what you kind of attest to. Talk to us a little bit more about the transition into ground crew. I'm very like curious and kind of the whole story around this. It seems like the writing and everything that you've kind of done over your previous experiences have kind of extracted this opportunity for you to execute on this. But just talk to us a little bit more about kind of the emergence of this idea and just a little bit more around like the mission and vision for it.
I had started early 24. I started and I was just doing like some low grade consulting work. I say low grade because like I don't even know if you can call it consulting. I just had some friends in the industry that were like, "Hey, can you help me with this? Get this set up, or we're struggling with this over there." I did some like different sessions, flew around and did some stuff, and I was starting to have some fun. But then my friend Matt Moser called me and was like, "Hey, so peer groups," and I'm like, "What do you got?" And he runs a company with probably 15 people. He runs an excavation site work company in Connecticut. And he kind of talks through this idea, hey, these different contractors that don't compete with each other and they get together every couple, months or whatever. And we help each other build our businesses. And I'm like, I don't know. Let me see. So I put a post on LinkedIn. Hey, I'm thinking about doing a contractor peer group. If you're interested, please fill out this form. I shut off my phone, go to bed. I wake up the next morning, 63 people had filled out the form. And I'm like, I think I have a business here. Like this is wild because I don't need 63. I need 7, Mm-hmm. And it was just like this it was one of those days. It was one of those days, if I don't know if you guys have had these, but like one day that changes everything in your business or totally changes your mindset. You just can't ignore the evidence. It's right in front of you. It's like, I need 6 or 7 of these guys to have a really good aim, and I have 10 times that. So let me just see what happens. So I put it together. 6 weeks later, we go to Ohio and meet with Kingsway. Keith, you might know them, paving operation. Awesome guys in Ohio. And then we start a second one and we go to San Antonio and we start a third one with different contractors. Again, it's like I'm the connector. So I get all these people together and then we kind of put them in groups. And now I've got seven different groups going and 8 contractors apiece. And we're starting the circuit. We kind of go around the country and meet and it's wild. But the point of the story is I've been trying to listen for what people need, and I've been trying to build my skills and build my network and build trust with people that I'm not going to hose them. And it's like, the saying, luck is when preparedness meets opportunity. And that's kind of what it felt like. Like, mm-hmm. It's too easy to say, oh, I just got lucky. I've been trying to do something for 10 years, but if you would have stuck a gun in my face even 2 years ago, I'd have never guessed this is where it would be. But I am so on board. Like it's been phenomenal.
Props to you on test and demand too. I think a lot of people will go through this like procrastination process where they try to set up the perfect plan and then they don't really test anything and then they waste a bunch of time, money, and energy on something that may or may not or should or shouldn't even exist.
Oh, dude, I'm so scared of that. Like, so scared of.
Can I get somebody to pay for something? Awesome. Then let's push on the gas.
100%.
I'm a little bit different. Let's go do it and let's see what happens. I'm pretty sure it's going to work out. We'll worry about the consequences on the back end.
This is a problem for future Keith.
Yeah. I'm a high quick start. And I'm a great problem solver, which means I'm typically an entrepreneur, mm-hmm. right? Like that's quick start and risk taker and problem solvers. That's what we are. I have an entire team of people who help organize behind me because I also get really sick of things very fast. I'm like, this is really just kind of boring. I'm just really not into this anymore. So
just before it starts making money, you're like,
Yeah, no, even if it's making money, I just get bored with it. And I'm like, I don't really want to tinker with this anymore.
Yep.
So this seems like you think you could handle this? Because I'm going to go do something different. You want me out of here, right? You just complained about me being around. I'm going to go find something else to start and tinker with.
Yep.
So, well, who is the ground crew thing for? Like, what's your, perfect customer look like?
So the way I broke this up was I was trying to think through it, trying to talk to some people, get some feedback. And essentially, one of the biggest points of feedback was that a guy who runs $100 million civil construction company, for example, doesn't want to spend 2 days talking to somebody that does $2.5 million a year. And the reason is 2 totally different sets of problems. Now, the secret that I'll let you guys in on is I get to sit with companies that do 2, 3, 5, 15 million a year, and then some that do 15 or 30 or 50 million, and then some in another group that do, 60, 80, 100. The secret is they're not all that different. But it's the scale of their choices and decisions and conversations. Obviously, there's some things that are different, but there's a lot of common threads even throughout the 3 different brackets that I have. Yeah. But at any rate, I broke it up into those 3 brackets: 0 to 15, 15 to 50, 50 to 150. But that's 150 million is about the biggest contractor I have. Everyone's in some sort of civil site work, excavation, utilities, that sort of thing, demolition, asphalt, that kind of thing. And yeah, we get together. The way it works, we get together twice a year, and we kind of go around the country to each contractor's location. So I don't put any competitors in the room together, because obviously you're not going to like share all your secrets and then carpool to the bid room and see who won that afternoon or whatever, And so we kind of split things up, and I have a few groups that service each kind of revenue bracket. So that's how it works. And then I have one group for concrete contractors, like commercial concrete contractors, that is kind of getting its legs. Once we get everyone together, we'll execute that probably this fall.
So those contractors being non-competitive obviously helps open up the conversations, but I'd be kind of curious, even for the ones that do feel like they have trade secrets and everything, how do you really enable those folks to feel like there's a trusted group where they can open up about their financials, their processes, everything that's going on in the business? Because I would imagine that people are going to be paying, some sort of like, it's not going to be tiny where it's like doesn't matter. Like, these people are giving a financial commitment where they're going to be opening up their books and everything. What do you do in order kind of to help them feel trusted within these groups?
So there's a couple of things. One is like, first of all, I'm a year in, like group 001, the first group I told you, we met last year in May. We met it again in October. We just met again last week in May again. So we're on like a 6-month cycle. And so we only met for the 3rd time. But the level of trust that these guys have established is astounding. It's phenomenal to watch. You spend enough time, and then we do our monthly calls in between, and people share spreadsheets and things back and forth and whatever. There's a huge level of trust that gets built, and it happens fast, like way faster than I was thinking. There's like, I do the interview process and kind of vet people. I love to have like a referral, so it comes from somebody else. Someone else is vouching for this person, that kind of thing. But there's been a few folks who have been basically strangers that we fly in somewhere and end up meeting, and it's astounding to see how quickly people can begin to trust one another. On the practical side, I don't force financials, so you're not forced to bring all your financials and show everything on the first meeting. We can stick to the lighter gauge stuff that people aren't going to feel trapped or as vulnerable with. But very quickly, people are open to it. Like, we just held a meeting, and we went out with a new group, and the host company was like, "Hey, here's a printout. Everybody got a sheet of paper. It had like basically a scorecard from the last 5 years with their kind of 10 or 12 different just different facts about the company, how much revenue, what top line, bottom line,
Mhm.
what their overhead looked like, type of work, that kind of thing. And they just printed it out and gave it out. And it's like, we're back to the trust factor. Like, there's a ton of trust in these groups. And I think people want it. Like, I've watched 50 or 60 contractors get in the room, and everybody knows their non-compete deal.
Mhm.
Like, people are willing to be open. So I
Found I'm in a couple of peer groups, and I've got two guys specifically that are not only do our type of work overlap, but our service areas overlap. And these guys are like, why would you tell me the information you're telling me? And I'm like, this world is far too big for me to worry that the information I'm telling you is somehow going to negatively impact my ability to earn long term. If you get better and I get better, and you look at me with some sort of indebtedness, and I have a trade ally in a neighboring market, that if I need something, people in my market are not, I'm a paver, obviously. If I break all of my paving machines, or I lose X, Y, or Z, I need somebody to be able to call. If I help you and there's some level of, indebtedness, I don't look at that as a bad thing. And that is apparently a very weird way to operate in this world. But I'd rather have you owe me than me charge you for the items that I'm sharing. And what it's done is it's allowed me to, like, the things that that are kind of borderline, like service area wise, and dollars and cents. I'm like, that just probably doesn't make sense for me to go. And then one of these guys called and they said, hey, there's a job in Vancouver. It's like 30 minutes from you guys. I'm just going to send this to you. And I'm like, do you want anything for it? He goes, no, just go do it. Like, just go treat the guy right. He's a customer from ours up here. I told him that if I went down and did it, the whole spiel, just treat him right. And then if you have something later, like, we'll just trade it back. Right. It takes a long time to find the right people to be able to do that with. But once you do, it's like you are in lockstep. And there's no question. When I call and ask those guys, hey, I need some help with this, or I saw this on your last bid sheet. What's that all about? How are you doing it for that price? There's an openness to it that I don't think the industry has seen. And total transparency, I'm in a hotel room 5.5 hours from my house and we're having to haul asphalt 3 hours away because the guy that I can see his asphalt plant out this window is so narrow-minded. He doesn't understand that he is the old guard and we are the new guard. And sooner than later, if he doesn't play ball with us, he's going to get choked out, right? Like, he's ruining his business because we talk about it like this. I'm like, yeah, don't call that guy. It's a waste of your phone call because he's just going to tell you got to go somewhere else. Meanwhile, there's other people who are like, dude, I would love nothing more than to put a portable asphalt plant in that guy's town and just go to work for 3 months just to show him we could. And I'm like, that's a great idea. I'm down. I will go with you. Right?
Yeah.
Like, the peer thing, and this is like relationships. People want to be seen, heard, and liked, right? In business, but they want to be seen and heard. And in business, there's so many times where it's like everything's a secret and everything's like so close that you would just like to say, here's what I'm thinking. What do you think? And just be quiet and, like, let the thing marinate, let the seed sprout or wither and die. Or, if it's a bad idea, hopefully somebody tells, dude, that's a terrible idea. You shouldn't do that. But your thing really, I think there's some emptiness that people are looking to fulfill. And especially as men, we're looking to get some of that momentum in our life through work because it gives us purpose and value. And it just feeds that part of us that wants to be a provider. And the peer-to-peer thing I have found really valuable because I can go, rather than sitting at my computer at 3 a.m, I can go, I'm just going to call somebody.
Yeah.
I'm just going to call 3 or 4 guys and say, hey, have you gone through this?
Yep.
right? It's so valuable. So valuable.
For the folks that join ground crew, Benjamin, I'd be kind of curious. Obviously, you have the three brackets, right? But I'd be kind of curious. Are there certain things that you look for folks going through different transitions in those brackets that make them the best fit for you? Like if somebody was, heard about you guys on the podcast and everything, like how would you kind of identify like these are the right fits for those different brackets, or hey, this is the best fit type of contractor if you're going through this type of transition? What would be kind of the things that would be top of mind if somebody was curious in this?
Yeah, there's two very simple filtering tools that I use. And it's going to sound catchphrasy, but stick with me for a second. Humble and hungry. Humble and hungry. This is the filter for how you get in the ground crew, or you don't get in the ground crew. There's been a fair handful of contractors that either through someone else's recommendation or through my own interviewing and chatting with them, haven't passed the mark. I haven't passed the test. And maybe that's bad on me for acting like that or filtering. But what I've come to see is if we don't have humility, first of all, then all it is you're coming in and you're going to try to tell everybody how great you are, how smart you are, how much money you make. And that is just a losing proposition. There's no value in it for other people. There's no value in it for me as the facilitator. And ultimately, there's no value for you. All you get to do is just come in here and tell people how great everything is in your world. That's just stupid. So humility enough to take feedback, maybe swallow if it's hard to hear, and then go and do something with it. And then hungry, like hunger. I've got guys that are third generation contractors. Granddad started this thing. Dad ran it for 30 years, and now they're taking over family business. They're hungry, man. Like they don't want to be that third generation statistic that goes and screws the whole thing up. Like they want to grow and get better. And then definitely plenty of guys that started themselves 4 years ago, 6 years ago, 10 years ago, grew the thing from absolutely nothing, started with a skid steer that they rented from Sunbelt Rentals and or have grown the thing, And so it's less about any specific like, oh, you do asphalt and you're a second generation asphalt guy, or you do deep utilities, and it's way more about your mindset. Like, are you willing to come in the room and shut your trap and listen and ask good questions, or are you coming in with a swagger?
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing I've tried to filter for.
I think that's pretty cut and dry.
It's worked.
I'm hungry.
Well.
I'm hungry a lot.
Blood, man.
Yeah. So I'm 10 years sober, Brett Benjamin, if you didn't know that. And our sponsor says either you are humble or you become humiliated. There's no in between.
Yep.
And he's like, but you get to choose humility. You get shown humiliation. Like you get to experience the one and you get to choose the other. So which way would you like to learn the lesson?
Oh, I love that.
I'm like,
that's so good.
Most of the time I want to choose humility, but there are times when humiliation shows up and I'm like, I'm not a fan of this. Whatever this is at the moment.
This blows chunks.
Yeah, I'm really not a fan of how this is working out right now. But those are great. Those are great foundational principles. I love that. So when you get into like these peer-to-peer things, let's talk about strategies and tactics in here. Like most of the people get stuck in the weeds, right? That's most business owners are looking at the symptom of the problem and not the problem. And they're just grinding and they can't figure out why the problem keeps existing. So how do you help contractors step back and get some real perspective on why the problems that are in their life exist?
Yeah, I could give about 7 answers to this because it's looked a variety of different ways. But one, the environment, I really think that just stepping back, literally and physically stepping back from your business for a couple days, like for you to leave Oregon, for example, Keith, for you to leave Oregon and fly to uh, Miami or fly to DC or fly to Ohio and go like get out of the operation. You can't do that and not change your perspective. That will change your perspective. Maybe it's like, oh man, this thing is a dumpster fire back at the house. My phone won't stop blowing up. But even that tells you something, you know? And I've had many guys that show up for 2 days, 2.5 days, 3 days with travel, and they're like, I'm surprised. My phone actually is all right. Like it's been pretty quiet. So I think physically moving yourself, getting out. This is why I'm such a fan of the physical and in person rather than just Zoom, rather than just like trying to force everything on the internet. It's expensive. It's hard to make the time for. It's really hard during the summer season or like production. It's tough. It's not easy to just like pull the plug and I'm going to leave for 3 days. But I have yet to find anybody who hasn't found it useful. And then we spend a lot of time talking. Like it's very so far at least, it's been very I want to go with what people are struggling with. And so I do like the survey beforehand. Let's talk about what's working, what's not working, what do you need help with, what are you stuck on, those sorts of things, to kind of try to get try to identify like a path at least. A lot of times there's common threads between those. And so we'll spend some time talking specifically about those issues. But I like the open format. I based on the feedback I've heard, like sitting in a Tony Robbins event for 5 days when your real issue is I can't figure out how to cost my equipment properly, or should I depreciate it over 3 years or 5 years, or those types of things just don't get answered at the Tony Robbins thing. And so I try to it's funny. It's like I try to emphasize practical. What do you guys need? I try to prep people beforehand. I ask them when we show up, what do you need? And then how do we make sure that we talk about that stuff and get those answers either now at the dinner, tomorrow, when we're talking. Like let's identify this stuff and walk out of here with answers and action. It's funny though, guys. I aim to make it super practical, tactics, whatever. Inevitably, every single time so far, we go there, we spend some time there, and then it always comes back to the why, or the deeper issue, the root issue behind why they might be struggling with this. Some of the stuff, we're growing way too fast. It's like, okay, that's not a tactical issue for you to say we're growing, we're doubling every year and we're a $30 million business. It's not tactics. It's like, that's strategy. That's slowing down, thinking, why are you doing that? And so every time it ends up like that.
You just like put so much out there that I'm processing the things you said. Yeah, the tactics, strategies, what gets you here often won't get you there. There's so many pieces to the what you just shared. Can you get too tactical? Is it reasonable to say like somebody is so clinical about how they approach things that they can be nearly too tactical in their business as well? Like the pendulum has swung too far?
Way too much. I've seen, like, and part of my job as a facilitator is to make sure that it doesn't go that direction. But
yeah,
you waste 20 minutes talking about some specific thing, specific feature within their specific software that they're struggling with. It's like, okay, we got to call time and you deal with that out here. We got to get back to some strategy.
yeah.
But yeah, there you can go. I think the pendulum. I love the pendulum phrase. Like the pendulum can swing way too far, and I've watched it. But also, it can go way too far into the ethereal, and all of a sudden we're talking about, manifesting stuff, and it's like, and that doesn't actually happen. But if we did. It's like that's not useful either. So we're trying to stay on the straight and narrow.
Yeah, I think business is one of those things where there's so many opportunities and strategies that need to go into it that sometimes we get stuck on solving something over on our right when we should be solving the thing in front of us, right? Like one of my favorite that you just talked, job costing. How do I depreciate these things? What's the best cash flow thing? How do I use a line of credit? Because when I was first in business, a line of credit was a credit card to me, right? Like that's what I thought of. Because if you don't know what a line of credit is, like you don't know what you don't know. So as you get like an awareness to this idea that here's my favorite one. This is totally human. This is 3 years ago, just to paraphrase where 3 years ago, somebody asked for CPA reviewed financials, and I just turned my tax return in, and they said, "What is the CPA reviewed?" And I'm like, they're like, no, and I'm like, what are you talking about?
Oh, that's
Right? Because I had no idea what that was. Now I speak bond agent and I speak surety company lingo, and I speak like, but 3 years ago I had no idea what they were talking about. And the same items 3 years ago, I would have given you very different answers on because I didn't know what I knew, what I needed to know. And so, like, as you get into job costing, like, dude, job costing for most contractors is, if you can't see me, I'm putting my hands on my head and like rubbing, like there's a serious problem. People have no idea what they're doing. Like guys like, oh, I just put my labor and materials on there and then, I just hope that's, and I shake my head and I'm like, you are going to be bankrupt or get yourself into a serious financial jam before you have any idea what's happening. So how do you help people peel back? Like, because here's the real problem. They're too successful early on and they think they got it. And then they walk in later and they go, hey, Ben, I really need some help because I'm losing money on half these jobs and I have no idea why.
Yep. Yeah. Now to be clear, I can help like the first stage or two. But I'm in conversations with people that do $50 million a year, and I have no, like, I understand the concepts, but I have not run a $50 million business and successfully navigated job costing. So I would never pretend, and that's not my role. That's not what my aim is. But there are simple principles that I hear from the guy that does 2.5 million. And he's trying to get to 3, to the people that do 80 and are trying to get to 100. It's like the principles are the same. Quality data from the field. You have to get some way to collect that data. You have to get some way to turn that data into information. So it's not just numbers on a screen, but it's information that you can then use to bid the next project. The whole point of knowing your costs is that so that you can know how low you can go if it's required. That's the point of knowing your costs. That's why you should know them. A huge amount of the job costing argument or issue that I see in my groups, at least, is really just a behavior issue more than anything. It's how do you get people in the field to fill out the form? Doggone it. And that seems silly until you have 13 crews. You have 13 people that you're supposed to roll out this new piece of software to, or this new method for getting feedback or getting the information back from the field. And then the office doesn't train them appropriately. And then the field thinks that the office is a total joke, and down and down and down the spiral of spins. And so a huge amount of it is not so much, at least in my view and what I've seen. It's not about like, did you buy the perfect thing or did you get the perfect system? Is your team rowing in the same direction? If they are, odds are you're probably getting pretty good data. If they're not, then you're up the creek.
I was kind of curious to talk about this, Benjamin, but obviously I would suspect that most people that are coming into ground crew are pretty forward thinkers, but I'm sure even people have kind of a similar attitude of, Benjamin, this is like a core process to our business. Like that we've been doing it for years. It's successful. And they think they're maybe like kind of maxing out in terms of that process. Like how do you get them to kind of realize that there can be a better way to do things without disrupting everything?
This is, I'm not sure if this is the right answer, but this is immediately what comes to mind is the value of seeing what other people are doing. Other people that look like you, talk like you, sound like you. When you both say RCP, you both understand what that means. And to see, but you see someone 9 states away in that same issue or in that same situation, but they deal with this issue a little bit differently. Like if somebody, we're back to the humility conversation in my view. It's like if you roll up, if you said you're in the ground crew, so if you join the ground crew and you roll up feeling like you have all the answers, then I can't help you. We can't help you. Like there's nothing we can say that's gonna be smart or gonna get you off your high horse. It's like people show up with issues in the holster ready to go. Like I've got these 6 issues that I'm trying to deal with. What do you guys got? And a lot of times it's things like costing or behavior change, getting people to start doing things or morning meetings or whatever. So yeah, I would say it's like it's way more of a humility thing than it is the exact tactics. So I've noticed.
What are your thoughts on, so I love the principle of creating one problem at a time and then solving one problem, which usually creates another. Some people would say let's change, like implementing change, creating chaos, kind of, it's like this circle that comes around. How do you get people like in these peer groups? How do you bring the idea that chaos and change are inevitable if you're going to reach the stated destination? Because usually people they want to go to where they say, like, I'm 5 million, I want to be a $10 million contractor. They're like, yeah, I want to go there because there's a lifestyle that's attached to that I probably maybe can't attain yet. But I just don't really want to do the work and I just want to keep things the same. What do you tell that person? How do you get them in the group and in the room to say, yeah, I'm not only am I willing to do it, I realize that it's going to be tough?
I'd say there's 2 different answers that relate to this. One is, first of all, there's nobody that signs up and pays the fees and gets on a plane and shows up somewhere that isn't actively trying to grow both top line and bottom line. Like you just don't show up. If you're like, I'm a $5 million guy and I'm good here, it's like, then you're good. This is my experience. These are the kinds of guys that are here, or they are trying to get to 10, or 50 or 100 or whatever. The other thing I would say is there's been we hosted this workshop a couple months ago, and it was just so good. My friend Zach, who is this process engineer, he's the opposite of me in many ways. Like he loves the industry, loves the people, but he thinks in zeros and ones and thinks blueprints and this kind of thing. I don't think any of that stuff. But he built this, or he kind of drew this fabulous description to answer what I would say, Keith, is your question. First, he drew a line, but the line was like super squiggly. It was kind of like up and to the right a bit, but it kind of went up steep and then it dropped super far and then up and around, spun around and back again. And it was just kind of all over. And eventually it starts going up and to the right, indicating trajectory, right? Like it's going this direction, but it's chaos. Like you said, chaos. And then below it, he writes the word change. All right. So this describes change. And then he draws a second picture. And this picture looks just like a set of stairs. This looks like a staircase. So there's a run and then there's a rise. And there's a run and there's a rise and there's a run and a rise. And then he writes the word improvement. So, and his point is there's a difference between changing things and improving things. Now, improvement is like going, nothing's, you're the same. And then you hit a wall, you hit a stair tread, you hit your face on something and it's painful. And now your job is figure out how to fix that. How do you fix that process, fix that issue, fix that? It could be a collections thing. It could be an operational thing. It could be a hiring thing. It could be an equipment thing. It doesn't matter. You hit the stair tread with your face and it hurts. So then you fix that one issue and then you go back on the stair tread and you don't try to do all this change stuff, this gyrating around is a thing that drains your people. And he was just making the point in the workshop we were doing, like, this is the way. Don't change things, improve things. And what I've noticed is a lot of, when we talk about goals with these contractors, a lot of the goals, as you might imagine, Keith, maybe you're guilty of this yourself, a lot of the goals revolve around top line revenue growth. We did 6 million last year. We'd love to be at 8. Or we did 21 million last year and we'd love to be at 27. Or we're fixing to be at 30 or whatever. Top line, top line, top line. By the end of the peer group meeting, people are saying, bottom line, bottom line, bottom line. We're going to change our goals. We're going to talk about bottom line, because it's like you just realize, like, all you do is just introducing more chaos. You're just creating more of that change, unless we're hitting that stair tread, seeing the issue, fixing that one issue, level off, let people simmer, and go until we hit our face again on the next stair tread. Either way, you get up and to the right, but it's like, what's your path, you know? And yeah, so
I love that kind of analogy, because it kind of reminds me of the rise and run thing. It's like one step at a time. But if you were to kind of look at the graph or the drawing, it's kind of like chaos and change, and then finally pokes out at the top right. I think that one is more of like people trying to skip steps, and that creates all the chaos and uncertainty and everything when they just try to go from stair 1 to stair 10. Obviously, It's going to be very painful and chaotic, because you're trying to solve stair 10 without solving stair 1 first.
Amen. Well said.
This is one of the most influential articles that I've ever read. I'll have to look it up again. 10% more margin. So if you increase your prices 10%, you would have to lose 50% of your business to make exactly the same money you're making today. And I'm like, and I went and I ran the numbers and I was like, holy crap. It's right. Like, I could cut my business in half if I got 10% more off of the half of business that we kept, and we would make exactly the same dollars. And
it's raising your prices, sure, and selling better and better BD and all this stuff up front, but it's also operational efficiency.
Yeah.
Getting better at executing the work for cheaper.
Yeah. Which is, we're a great case study for some of these things. We have, since I got sober, there's a weird correlation between me getting sober and the business going well. For those of you who are strong, some of those things that distract you from life, I can tell you that if you show up, you do better, just as a general rule. But we went from like $1 million the year I got sober 10 years ago to 27 last year. That's 9.5 years, right?
Beautiful.
We netted more last year than we have done in previous entire years, right? Like, so, but the difference is, and some of my salespeople get really frustrated with the decisions I'm like, our values don't match those people anymore. Like, I'm not going to do the shoddy work and pave it so thin that it looks nice. And then they come back at us 5 years later and they're like, why is it not lasting? Right? Like, there's a balance between understanding what is a good job for us and money now. And sometimes the best thing you can do is move on. And that is a really hard concept when somebody, especially we've got some salespeople that are like 15 years with us, and they are like, I've worked really hard at keeping this customer for 15 years. And I'm like, and unfortunately they're headed the different direction. Like, I can't tell you that you can't give them quotes, but we are not going to quote that like that anymore. You can't do a 1-inch overlay. Oil has changed. Maybe in South Florida you can, but here you can't do that. It just comes apart. And we're too far past those days for me to take that risk as a leader, and for me to support the customer making that choice. Right. And if you say it in that way, it's taken totally different than saying, we're not going to bid your jobs. Right. The messaging is so important, but and these are some of the things like we're going to get into, like the ultra marathons and stuff. I spend time thinking about stuff like this. How do I tell customer X that we can't do that anymore. Right? Like that is not an option for us. I had a customer say, "Hey, can't you just make the traffic and can't you discount the traffic control off there?" And I'm like, "No. No, if it was, 15 years ago when it was me and my dad and a couple of guys, like we'd have made it work because we didn't have any choice. Today, I am not risking someone's life. And it's a hard pass. Like if you want to put your kids out there playing next to the road with idiots driving 50 miles an hour 5 feet from you, good on you. But I am not willing to have that conversation because I don't want to pick up the phone and say, "Hey, your husband didn't make it home today."
Yep.
Right? And that's one that, like, when you say it like that, most people go, "Okay, I'll pay the traffic control."
Yeah. And if they don't, you didn't want to work with them anyways.
Right. But it's a reasonable thing. So let's go into some of the fun stuff here. It's back to the running, instead of the other stuff. So like you're kind of like a little special. I don't know if it's needs or like gifted or what.
I was like,
Because depending on the circumstance, like,
go and say that growing up.
yeah, like I could question both. What are the correlations that endurance running and business, like, what are the things that you've taken from endurance running and you're like, this is 100% applicable here?
One I've been thinking about is the idea of getting to the next aid station. So if you run marathons or half marathons or ultra marathons or whatever, there's all these aid stations set up, and every 5 miles or whatever, you can get some water and get some grub and use a bathroom and whatever. And that stuff, it's funny what, especially ultras. I've run 100 and then several 50s and a bunch of marathons, and it's like you get into the ultra game, it's just a completely different race altogether. Like the difference between 26.2 miles and 50 miles is as different as water skiing is from golf. Like they're just two totally different sports. But getting to the next aid station is like, it's just like shrinking the suffering so that you don't have to think like, oh, I still have 31 miles to go. Like, it's like, no, I need to get to the next aid station. I'll gear up. I'll have some bananas and eat a peanut butter and jelly. It'll be the best PB&J I ever had. And then I'm going to keep moving, keep putting one foot in front of the other, Yeah. So they're just shrinking the time horizon.
Yeah. I love that.
Now we're going back to the rise and run graph.
Exactly. It all comes full circle.
I'm starting to buy in a little bit more to this ultra marathon stuff when you talk about snacks and shrinking the suffering. I mean, if we're having pit stops, otherwise I'm thinking of like running alongside Keith for 100 miles. I'm like, dude, you're about to be dragging my ass.
So running is a loose term when you get to the hundreds. I averaged like, I think it was 1450 or something. It was
Up and on
20 hours, right? It was not fast, but I did the first 50 in 12, which is fast.
Mm-hmm.
The last 50 was like a lot more, 14, 15 hours, which is still cooking, but like I walked a lot.
Yep.
The thing that I remember, the only thing that I remember from my 100 that I despised, my brother started this 2 minute, 1 minute timer. So I'd run for 2 minutes and run for 2 minutes and walk for 1 minute. And I still hear the noises. Like I have nightmares because my body was just so done. And he just kept saying, "Hey, like the only way out is through. Let's keep going." And I'm like, I just want some more snacks and to walk.
100%. Can relate. Hardcore.
Yeah.
Awesome.
When's your next run coming up? Either of you?
In June, I'll be doing the Hell's Bells here in Washington. I've run it 2 times before, and it's we're gonna see how it goes this time. I don't know. I don't know. I tried to win last time, and then my legs blew up, and it was probably the most pain I've ever been in physically. So, but it was only for the last 35 miles, so it wasn't that big a deal. It sucked. So I'm going to try not to repeat that, but yeah, that's my next thing.
That's wild. Good for you. How long is that one total?
It's a 50. Yeah. 10,000 feet to climb in. So it's up. Yeah. It'll be fun.
I'm really good at downs. Downs.
What do you got, Keith?
I don't actually have one at the moment. My wife and I are trying to figure out what the next. I've got an 18-month-old, and that has really changed my whole world.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like I'm 41. I've wanted to be a dad forever, and I'm like, my Saturday mornings with him are treasured and sacred right now.
Yep.
Um,
Yep. Don't miss it, man.
like it's wild because he and I will just get in the truck, and he wants to go to the yard and look at the excavators. And he just wants to walk around and climb on the things that I work with every day. And he's like, "Oh," and then he'll get distracted. It's so I don't have anything like,
Good. Good.
and it's the first time in probably 5 years that I haven't had one that I'm working towards, but I'm intentionally taking Saturday mornings, which have been a time to go run, and I'm taking time away from his mom so that she has a little break from, the little 20-pound terrorist. And we're going and doing things. So
Love it.
yeah, we're going to do something big next year.
What a rip.
Benjamin, before we close out, kind of two final things before we wrap up get to our fast five. You definitely have your ear to the ground with a lot of these contractors. What if you're to make kind of a bet on where the dirt world is going over the next 5 to 10 years, trends, challenges, opportunities, what kind of things do you see shaping our industry over the next 5 to 10 years?
I think there's a huge. I almost hate to predict this, but there's, the saying, more businesses, but I'd say more contractors die of gluttony than they do starvation. There's been a lot of contractors who have, who've grown a lot, and like Keith, like you were saying, they've skipped from step 1 to step 10, and now they're trying to fix the issues of step 2, step 3, step 4. But they have revenue people, customers that are all kind of propping them up at step 10. I have a huge amount of concern for those contractors, and I get to sit in the rooms with some of them, and a lot more of them I don't, because they're off way too busy to do stuff like this. The guys in my groups are taking it very seriously. Like, hey, these guys got to 50 million, but it took them 30 years. You guys did it in 6, and you're going to have to fix that, And so, yeah, there's a lot of that, like gluttony rather than starvation, I think is a thing. And I don't know. I'm just me with my perspective, but I think that's going to be, no matter, it doesn't even matter necessarily what the economy does or whatever. It's like these guys are going to have to fix some of the root issues before they can sustain, before they can last. Other than that, like, yeah, there's all sorts of things, from AI taking people's jobs in the office to equipment advances to whatever. I'm way less of a, like, you're not going to catch me at Trimble Dimensions nerding out on stuff. I'm not that guy, but I know there's gobs of technology that's speeding things up. Obviously, Micro and everybody else is talking about workforce and all these people that don't want to work and all this. I do think there's probably plenty of advances that are going to help ease that burden, but I also think there's going to be a ton of work that still needs to go into just attracting and getting people into the industry over the next decade, or as you said, 5 to 10 years. Like, I think that has to continue. So yeah, those are some of the things that I would put a bean on it. We're going to be focused on those things for a good long while going forward.
Mm-hmm. As a ground crew is still kind of like in its early innings, you guys are still working hard on building that. I'd be kind of curious. You're not a guy that stands still, literally or metaphorically. What's kind of the vision for the ground crew over the next few years, let's just say?
I started this, I was telling you guys about the story of how, like the origin story, how it came to be. And my aim from day one has been, how do I be valuable to contractors?
Mhm.
And I already have my customers, I already know that these guys need help, and I already know that I can figure out how to help them. What I don't know is what that'll look like 5 years from now. I have what's in front of me, and I'm going to aim to do this as well as I possibly can. I want to aim to iterate. I talk to all of my customers regularly on the phone or obviously in the meetings and stuff, and I try to understand how else can I help? How else can I help? But I truly don't know. I imagine there's probably going to be a lot of the peer group work. There's workshops where I bring in, I kind of get, my business is the connector. So I bring the audience and I bring like Zach, for example. Zach has this phenomenal process, man, but he doesn't have the audience. I can connect those up, and we had an amazing workshop. Scott Pieper, awesome finance guy. I have the audience, bring them together. We have a great workshop on cash flow and bonding and that sort of thing. So I can like basically connect contractors with good solutions that help them grow their businesses for the long term. If I can keep doing that in 5 years, in 10 years, then I'll feel like I've done my job.
Amen, brother. We got before we wrap up our episodes, I told you about the Fast Five. It's a question to be answered in a sentence or less. You ready?
See what I can do.
All right, number one, hardest lesson you learned in business.
There's a big difference between saying you can do something and doing it.
Boom. Number two, I don't know if you're willing to admit this, but who's one of the most inspiring contractors you've worked with?
A nasty list, a huge list. Inspiring T-Tap Construction out of Tri-Cities, Washington. My friend Tyler, infinitely indebted to him for his help in getting the ground crew going, and they're hungry and humble, like they live it, breathe it. I've spent a ton of time with them, their team. I've met just about everybody who works there. Phenomenal. You said one sentence, right?
I did. It is close. We support some run-on sentences here. Number three, one hill you'll die on when it comes to leadership.
Better to be interested than interesting.
Oh, I love that one. All right, your last two. Number four, your one message to the next generation would be?
Roll up your sleeves.
Five, what does the phrase bred to build mean to you?
In one sentence?
Do your best.
It's a badge of honor if you can put yourself in the same shoes as others who are bred to build. If you see yourself as that kind of person, if you feel like you were born to build stuff, it's something to be proud of.
Boom, money. Where can people find and connect with you, Benjamin?
I'm on LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn. Benjamin Holmgren. And then Instagram, also Benjamin Holmgren. And then you can go to my website, joingroundcrew.com.
Perfecto. Everyone, thanks for listening to another episode of the Bred to Build podcast. If you like this episode, you like what we're doing, drop an awesome review. Check out Benjamin across those platforms. If you'd like to follow me on social, you can find me on all platforms, Brek Goen, and we are Hammr, preferably Instagram and LinkedIn. And Keith, I'll let you close it out today.
Yeah, man. You can find me at Keith Callaway Jr. or at K&L Industries on every social outlet. But similar to Brek, I am on LinkedIn and Instagram mostly. And we'll see you guys next time on the Bred to Build podcast.